Open your fridge right now. A can of soda, some yogurt, leftover pizza, maybe fruit that was flown in from the other side of the planet this week. To your ancestors, none of this is food. None of it even registers as something that could be eaten because nothing like it has ever existed in the 3 million years your species has been alive. So what do they actually eat? The honest answer would horrify most people alive today. Scientists have found the proof in caves, in bones, in teeth, in chemical traces left inside fossilized remains. And what that evidence shows changes everything we thought we knew about ourselves. To understand it, we have to go back to the beginning. Roughly 3 million years ago, your earliest ancestors were not hunters. They were scavengers. When a lion killed an antelope on the African savanna, it took the best parts first: muscle, liver, heart. Then the hyenas arrived and crunched through ribs and smaller bones. By the time your ancestors reached the carcass, almost everything was gone. What remained were the thick leg bones. Bones too dense, even for hyena jaws to crack. And this became their meal. Early humans would approach a stripped carcass, collect the heaviest bones, and smash them open with stone flakes called Oldowan tools. Inside was marrow, gray, dense, dripping with fat. They scooped it out with their fingers and ate it raw. No other animal could do this. The marrow was sealed inside bones too thick for any other scavenger to access, and we had the one thing no other predator had: hands that could grip a rock hard enough to break them open. They ate the brains too. A cracked skull holds close to a pound of dense, calorie-rich fat. For an ancestor living on whatever larger predators left behind, a skull was a jackpot. This is why your body still treats fat like something precious. It still remembers. And alongside bone marrow and brain matter, they ate insects, termites, grubs, beetles, fat white larvae the size of your thumb. They crunched like shrimp. For your deep ancestors, insects were not a last resort. They were a reliable, protein-dense staple. This was life for over 1 million years, generation after generation, day after day, in a world where nothing was given and everything had to be taken from whatever was left behind. Then came fire. The oldest controlled human fire ever discovered is inside Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa. It is approximately 1 million years old. And once fire arrived, it changed everything about what eating meant. Meat roasted over coals, roots buried in hot ash, marrow bones dropped directly into embers. Cooking is pre-digestion. Raw meat and raw plant matter force your gut to do hours of chemical work just to extract usable energy. Cooked food arrives already partly broken apart. Your body spends less energy processing it and pulls significantly more calories from every single bite. As our ancestors shifted toward cooked food, their guts shrank. They no longer needed the enormous digestive systems required to survive on raw, fibrous, unprocessed food. And the energy freed by that reduction went somewhere. It went to the brain, an organ that represents only 2% of your body weight, but consumes 20% of your body's daily calories. You cannot power that machine on raw leaves and termites. You need cooked, fat-rich, calorie-dense food. Cooking gave us our brains, and our brains gave us everything else. That is when the menu expanded beyond anything that had come before. By 300,000 years ago, your ancestors looked much like you do today, and they were eating almost everything they could catch, dig up, or reach. Mammoth, bison, wild horse, and reindeer on the open plains. Fish and shellfish from rivers and coastlines. Roots, wild grains, berries, nuts, and mushrooms from the land itself. Eggs taken from nests. And honey, especially honey. The Hadza, a hunter-gatherer group in Tanzania who still live much as humans lived before the invention of farming, get roughly 15% of their calories from wild honey. They climb dangerous trees. They get stung hundreds of times. They keep going back, because nothing else in the wild packs that much energy into a single find. A dripping honeycomb was the richest meal most of your ancestors ever laid eyes on. That craving is still running inside you right now. Your brain is wired for sugar because for hundreds of thousands of years, sugar delivered two things simultaneously: instant energy for right now and stored fat for when food ran out. That stored fat was sometimes the only thing standing between your ancestor and death. The program is ancient and it is powerful, and modern food took that ancient signal and turned it into a global industry. Soda, candy, cereal, sauces, bread, almost every packaged food on Earth is sugar wearing a different costume. Your body cannot tell the difference between honey in a tree and a chocolate bar. It only knows the signal. But sugar was not the only thing your ancestors learned to crave. A single mammoth carcass could feed an entire group for weeks. One successful kill saved hundreds of hours that would otherwise have been spent digging roots and picking berries. That saved time became time to raise children, to teach skills, to make better tools, to tell stories around fires. This is why your body still responds to protein the way it does. Every craving you carry was shaped by what kept your ancestors alive. But there is one thing about ancient eating that is harder to talk about. In a cave in England called Gough's Cave, researchers found human bones from approximately 14,700 years ago. The skulls had been meticulously cleaned with stone tools. The face and base had been carefully removed. What remained were the upper sections of the skulls, shaped deliberately into cups. The long bones had been cracked open exactly the way the earliest ancestors cracked open antelope bones for their marrow. And here is what makes this stranger. This was not starvation. The same cave contains the remains of horses, deer, and other animals. There was food. A 2017 study calculated the caloric value of a human body, approximately 125,000 calories. A bison provides 600,000. A mammoth, 3 million. Humans were not efficient food. They were a choice. One forearm bone found at Gough's Cave had been carved with a decorative zigzag pattern after the meat was removed. This was not desperate survival. This was something else. And Gough's Cave is not alone. Similar remains have been found across Europe, in Germany, France, Spain, and Croatia. For stretches of our history, in different places and different times, this happened. And the evidence suggests it was not always driven by necessity. Your ancestors also ate rotten meat. When a hunter made a kill too large to consume immediately, they buried the excess, stored it in caves, submerged it in cold streams, and came back days, weeks, sometimes months later. By then, the meat was crawling with bacteria and smelled of active decay. They ate it anyway. Rotting meat has already been partially broken down. It is easier to chew, easier to absorb, and the bacteria that cause it actually produce B vitamins the body requires. Some researchers believe ancient populations may have developed a genuine preference for fermented meat. Your body still remembers this too. Every fermented food you love is controlled rot. Cheese, yogurt, sourdough, beer, wine, pickles. All of them are decay slowed to a pace the body can use. Your taste for aged cheese did not develop in a French dairy. It developed somewhere on a savanna, around a fire, eating something far older and far less refined. Every craving you have today for fat, for salt, for sugar, for the richest, densest, most calorie-packed thing you can find was shaped by a world where those things were rare, unpredictable, and desperately needed. Your body does not know about supermarkets. It does not know about refrigerators or guaranteed harvests or food deliveries or the casual certainty that tomorrow there will be something to eat. It only knows the rule that kept 3 million years of your ancestors alive. Eat what is rich. Eat what is rare. Eat while you can, because tomorrow there might be nothing. At 11 o'clock at night, when you open the fridge, even though you are not hungry, you are running that program. Still scanning, still preparing, still try to survive a world that no longer exists. Here is the thought that puts all of this in perspective. If you took a modern human and placed them in the world of 50,000 years ago, they would likely die within days. You would not know which plants were safe. You would not have the strength to run down prey, climb for honey, or crack a thigh bone for the marrow inside. You would stand in a landscape full of food and see nothing. But if you took a human from 50,000 years ago and placed them in your kitchen, your ordinary, unremarkable kitchen, they would not have words for what they were looking at. Cold, sweet liquid sealed inside metal. Bread baked by someone else. Milk that stayed fresh for weeks without spoiling. Fruit from places they had never imagined. Food that no one had to chase or dig for or risk their life to obtain. They would think they had walked into something sacred. For 3 million years, every human who ever lived was hungry, cold, uncertain, and always searching. You might be the first generation in the entire history of your species that is not. And you open the fridge without thinking about it at all.